हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी वेरी गुड आफ्टरनून टू ऑल द व्यूअर्स ऑफ अनअकैडमी लॉ। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आप सभी का ऑन May 17 एंड एज वी गेट क्लोजर टू द एग्जामिनेशन थिंग्स आर गेटिंग इंटेंस, राइट? रिविजन हैज़ बिकम अ की पार्ट ऑफ आवर प्रिपरेशन एंड आई होप, मेरी ये उम्मीद है कि आप सभी एग्ज़ाम के साथ साथ पुराने न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस के नोट्स को भी बराबर रिवाइज कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट can get as one liner GK, ancillary ones can be part of your preparation. वो उस तरीके से आपको क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं. So make sure कि आप अपनी preparation and you are doing it along with revision. आप लोग अब अपना जितना टाइम you are doing in terms of however time you are spending in learning new things, आपको उससे 10% ज़्यादा टाइम देना है to revision becomes the key aspect of your preparation, so do not skip that. All right, so on that note, very good afternoon to all the viewers who have tuned in live, and if you are someone जो मुझे सबसे पहली बार देख रहे हैं, तो then I am Kushagra Goyal, a graduate from National Law University, a master's in economics. I've been doing this series for almost 2 years now, and I've assisted students to achieve AIR 4, AIR 16, and मेरी उम्मीद है कि CLAT 2022 में भी मेरी revision series will get questions dead correct. On that note, जो हमारे नोट्स हैं विल बी अवेलेबल ऑन बोथ द लिंक्स, दैट इज bit.ly/KUSAGK notes एंड द अनअकैडमी कम्युनिटी टैब. मेरी उम्मीद है कि कल के नोट्स अबाउट थॉमस कप एंड अदर थिंग्स दैट वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आप लोगों ने नोट किए थे. एंड एज यू ऑल रिमेंबर, yesterday I had also pointed out that we will टेक योर डाउट्स फ्रॉम येस्टरडेज न्यूज़पेपर. सो अगर आपको कोई डाउट्स है तो वो भी आपको मुझसे ज़रूर पूछने हैं. ऑन दैट नोट, मेरे टेलीग्राम चैनल के थ्रू आप मुझसे कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं. दैट इज कुशाग्र गोयल द लीगल गेम _Unacad. So on that note, let's begin our newspaper analysis first. We'll return to this map after we take a look at the news from the front pages. On that note, very good afternoon to everyone who has tuned in live. Hi Ipshita, Shelly, Lakshay, Tuba, Lalima, Vishu, Sarthak, Aisha, very good afternoon. The current affair quiz will resume, Ranganathan, चिंता मत करो, but first we have other priorities now apart from quiz. आई होप कि आप अपने क्विज की जगह अब टाइम रिविजन में स्पेंड कर रहे हो, बिकॉज वी विल बी एडवांसिंग अ लॉट मोर रिविजन सीरीज एपिसोड्स ऑल्सो. सो आई होप कि आप अपना टाइम वहाँ स्पेंड करो. एंड on that note, very good afternoon Priyanka and Smriti to both of you. So our Prime Minister was visiting Nepal for the very first time post the border clashes, and he was visiting the country on a short visit on the occasion of Buddha Purnima. So the things that the Prime Minister did, very important. हमने इनके बारे में कल भी नोट किया था कि what all will the Prime Minister be doing in the country. That becomes very important for us. Okay, he referred to the common cultural heritage between the two countries on Buddhism and Hinduism. On that length, to mark the 566th Buddha Jayanti. Okay, so this was that. Now what all did the Prime Minister do there? That becomes very important for us. हमारे लिए बहुत important हो जाता है. Okay, सबसे पहले they launched the Shilanyas or the foundation laying stone ceremony with the Prime Minister of Nepal, that is Sher Bahadur Dauba, for construction of India International Cultural Center for Buddhist Culture and Heritage. This will be in Lumbini. Okay. Apart from this, the Prime Minister also planted a sapling of the Bodh Gaya tree at Lumbini. So that became an important thing. So first, India International Center for Buddhist Culture and Heritage in Lumbini Monastic Zone. That is the highlight. Okay. Then apart from this, we'll wait for this news story to develop in relation to the Places of Worship Act. Supreme Court is going to hear this petition today. ओके, सो हम इसके बारे में तब बात करेंगे. अभी तक दिस इज बीन जस्ट डन बाय द ट्रायल कोर्ट अबाउट अ सर्वे. What are the arguments before the Supreme Court becomes very important for us. So we'll take a look at it post that. All right. Then we move on to the big news for us. Sweden makes NATO bid official, says entering new era. Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson, who is the first women Prime Minister of Sweden. Okay. So Sweden and Finland will now be giving or submitting joint bid to join NATO. Okay. And in retaliation, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and along with his security alliance, that is Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is CSTO, which is the other side of this story. Okay, so हमारे लिए NATO becomes very important. So what has been the NATO map? How has the organization expanded? So abhi currently, NATO has 30 member states. Okay, along with USA and map excludes the NATO members of USA and Canada. ये बात आप याद रखना. Okay, so this is European map today. This is how the map unfolds today, and this is the advance of NATO eastwards at different point of time. Okay, so one of the concerns of Russia is that NATO had promised at the dissolution of USSR in 1992 कि NATO will not expand even 1 inch eastward, but countries Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Hungary, all the countries here, okay, all these countries have slowly become members of NATO, and now it is Sweden and Finland who will be entering or have confirmed that they want to expand into NATO. All of this comes down to the borders with Russia. This is the Russian rimland, जिसके बारे में हमने कल बात करी थी. So now you can see that these countries have now borders with Russia directly. Okay, which is a security threat for Russia. अभी तक Ukraine, one of the reason for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, where they have captured this much amount of the territory, is to avoid a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. Now with Finland, this is Finland joining in Sweden to become members of NATO, the Russian border becomes vulnerable to US. Okay, this is what the threat that Vladimir Putin is referring to. That no direct threat for us, but the expansion of military infrastructure to the territories will certainly provoke our response. Okay, so he was saying that this will certainly provoke a response from us, okay, while giving a speech at the Collective Security Treaty Organization. Now, Collective Security Treaty Organization is a military alliance between Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and other Central Asian republics. Okay, the other erstwhile Soviet Union. But हमारे लिए exam point of view से what becomes important? हमें क्या क्या note करना है? Okay, so first of all, when was NATO created? 1949. When did it start expanding eastward? 1992 onwards. Okay, so the first expansion happened in 1999. Okay, that's when Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, they joined in. Then there have been other expansions of the territories here. Okay, which is what Russia is saying is not acceptable. So for us, NATO, what is NATO? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What are they doing? They want to expand eastwards on the Russian borders, right? And that is what Russia has countered is a security threat to Russia. Okay, so this is what the news is. Sweden and Finland had an open policy of neutrality. So this is neutrality. Neutrality is very similar to the idea of non-alignment. Okay, our foreign policy quotation of non-alignment is very similar to neutrality. All right, so India declared itself to be non-aligned, right? ये हमारी position थी during the Cold War, that we will remain non-aligned to any country, that is the Western bloc of USA and the Eastern bloc of USSR. We will remain non-aligned. Now neutrality is very similar to it, where you do not take up a position. You say that no, I will take my independent stand. I will not take one formal position. I will treat both the parties equally. That, for example, Finland here will not ally with NATO and will not ally with Russia. It will take decisions as they come, ad hoc decisions. All right, that is the position of neutrality, which they are now moving away from. The moment you join a military alliance, it means that you are no more a neutral country. Okay, that is the threat of Sweden and Finland now joining NATO. Okay, so this is what we have to note down. Then we come national news, nothing of note for us here. Then we come to the editorial section. All right, so the main editorial aane se pehle, let's come on the left hand side. Crisis and opportunity. Wickremesinghe must disapprove detractors with quick measures for economic recovery. Okay, this is about policy suggestion for Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Ranil Wickremesinghe, and along with his president Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Okay, now in this editorial they are making a case that you should take so and so step. This is policy suggestion for Sri Lanka. This editorial is a policy suggestion. Okay, so not important for us. In this regard, the editorial moves on to say कि देखो, how can you hold the office of Prime Minister without actually, in a democracy, without having support from anyone? You people do not support you, so how can you be the president? In this regard, this is only going to further increase alienation amongst the people. In a democracy, you should have moral authority to rule. Okay. So in this regard, the editorial is saying कि देखो, he must have to bring together everyone on board. Whatever decisions he takes, he should be able to get everyone along to avoid any kind of disruption in policy making. But the one that is more important for us is each for all. The men's badminton team gifted an enduring memory to a country yearning for global wins. So one of the frustrations of Indian cricket team is that the last time we won was in 2011 at international level. Okay, in this regard, this is related to India's victory at the Thomas Cup, right? हमने इसके बारे में कल बात करी थी. Thomas Cup is the World Cup of badminton, and the men's team has won it for the very first time. 2022 में we have won the Thomas Cup for the first time. ठीक है? So this editorial is saying that this moment is like the golden moment in terms of badminton. It is also a proud moment for the country, which has had very few triumphant moments recently. In the recent past, we have not won any international tournament per se, out and out victory. But in this one, we were able to defeat the former champions, the formidable Indonesians, Denmark. We were able to defeat Malaysia. So in that regard, this is equivalent to the success that we have achieved in other sports, that is cricket, hockey. In that regard, this success is important. इसी वजह से I had told you yesterday, we had discussed a lot about Thomas Cup. All the things that you have missed out, please make sure कि आप May 16 के notes या फिर न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस ज़रूर देखिए. अगर आपने नोट्स अभी तक डाउनलोड नहीं करे हैं तो प्लीज़ चेक आउट दीज टू लिंक्स टू डाउनलोड द नोट्स ऑफ May 16. ठीक है, रिलेटेड टू टॉमस कप. प्लीज़ मेक श्योर कि आप ये नोट्स डाउनलोड कर लें, एटलीस्ट नोट डाउन कर लें अगर आपने अभी तक नहीं किए हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इट इज़ ऑल्सो मैंशनिंग द लास्ट other success stories that we have had in badminton. The first one was when Prakash Padukone won the All England final in 1980. Gopi Chand was the runner-up in 2001, and Saina Nehwal and PV Sindhu have won Olympic medals. But nobody had been able to win the Uber Cup, and this was the first time that we have won the World Cup of badminton, so that is why it is seen as a big victory. Okay, then we come to the main editorial. A war that is shrinking India's geopolitical options. Now, this war is leading, the Ukraine-Russia war is leading to larger isolation of Russia, which has been an ally of India for a long time. Now, almost every country is shunning Russia some way or the other. Nobody is backing it openly. We are also not able to back Russia openly. So it is reducing our options. We are unable to leverage an ally that we had been able to for such a long time. So that is one concern that the editorial is pointing out. The second is that now that Russia stands diminished in the world, the other big power in the world is China. And all the countries that are now or were close to Russia will seek assistance from China. And this is precisely the risk that India is running. Any loss of Russia is going to increase the Chinese influence. Even Russia now requires China for assistance because to counter its larger isolation in the world. इसी वजह से हमारे लिए ये बहुत ही difficult time है for foreign policy tenure. Okay, so this is a geopolitical article, larger security interests के लिए, इंडिया के लिए, diplomacy से related. ठीक है, the themes that have been mentioned in this are something that we have also done multiple times. Okay, what are the author's opinion? What is India's dilemma today? Whether or not to continue its engagement with Russia. Then what are the risks that are happening to India? First of all, सबसे पहले हमें हो क्या रहा है? What are the risks that we are facing? First of all, as per the author, Russia as a key strategic partner is no longer available to India as a balancing purpose. We are unable to use Russia as a balancing person. Russia's sudden absence from Asian balance of power equations has further enhanced Chinese influence in the region. And United States and Western partners are interested in Ukraine theater today. Their focus on China has already taken a hit. They are not that intensely engaged in countering China as they were previously, क्योंकि their interest has now shifted in the West. So all of this is creating space for China. Now what can we do? What are the options that we have? Already ये बात तो हमें पता है कि China is a threat for us. So what can India do in this regard? Okay. One of the big thing why we needed Russia was always because Russia had backed our claims in Jammu and Kashmir. It had backed our claims on border clashes. It had backed us out and out. Now that we do not have them, we need some other space where we get absolute support. We will not get absolute support of West if we do not criticize Russia. This is the dilemma that India is facing. So in summation, what do we have to note down? Okay, All right. First of all, some of your questions in the meantime. Is Lithuania NATO country? Yes. Hello Aisha. Hi Abhi. Hi Akanksha. Hello Anamika. All right. So these are the things that we have to note down. Other thing that is mentioned is border dispute, LAC and LOC. That's the concern that is highlighted. Then the technical higher education market dissected. The AICTE should be able to play safeguarding student interest before commercialization of education. Okay. Now in this regard, this is one key, the higher education institutions या जो school education होती है, that should not be commercialized. If it is being commercialized, it should be of certain standard. That is what this editorial is all about. It is another policy one, so not related for us, not important for us. ठीक है. इसके अंदर there is one economic concept that is mentioned here. Okay, the Weblin effect. Okay. What is the author? Alright, the Weblin effect is where we have, it's an economic concept where what happens is, normally if something is in high demand, okay, if something is in high demand, its prices are also very high. Normally किसी चीज़ की supply कम होती है तो और उसकी demand ज़्यादा होती है, तो then the thing becomes expensive, okay. But in India, what is happening, the Weblin effect is where we have these institutions, very limited good institutions of IITs, NLUs, IIMs, okay, AIMS, all of these are very limited in supply. But they have very few lower priced substitutes. For example, अगर किसी के लिए education या access to these institutions is expensive, there are no available substitutes for the same, okay. Or if the substitutes are available, they are of cheap or bad quality. That is the Weblin effect that we are talking about. So Weblin effect, normally क्या होता है, whenever we have a cheaper alternative, we would prefer to take the cheaper alternative. But in this regard, in the space of education, we are willing to price, or we are willing to move for a more expensive one. We are willing to wait for the better one to come to us instead of waiting for the cheaper option. So the Weblin effect, what is expensive is perceived to be excellent, is applicable to higher education as it is to luxuries, okay. So, and we see that private institutions which charge very high fees are always considered to be better than the ones that are cheaper ones, okay. So इस वजह से whatever is considered expensive is considered better, right. Alright, the Weblin effect is consumers prefer supply of high price goods over cheaper alternatives. Quality of an item is linked to its price. High price is considered equivalent to better quality, okay. All right. Then a couple of your questions. In which series episode you have explained the Israel-Palestine issue? I'll have to cross-check because I don't exactly remember it right now, Arushi. But you can ask other fellow citizens about this, other fellow students in the group, or I will inform you in the Telegram chat. And then, all right, one question has been retracted. On that note, let's move on, right? The next page, right? So focusing on public health engineering, this is about creating better facilities for public health, better overall policy. Then so this one we do not have to bother about. Then on the right hand side, sustainable development goals. There are 17 sustainable development goals. In terms of this, there are different sustainable development goals for India also. India measures its states on sustainable development goals. इसके अंदर this editorial is saying that Odisha has been performing well. This is written by the government of Odisha itself, so इसमें nothing of note for us. Then we move to the text and context. This article is very important for us, okay? How is the Weblin effect affecting the economy? Weblin effect is affecting economy where we are always looking for, let's say, for imported vegetables, imported expensive vegetables, expensive items are preferred over cheaper alternatives. You are always looking for price as a price as the point of considering quality. For example, cheap smartphone of India may also be equally good as an expensive one, but you will always prefer an iPhone because iPhone is far more expensive. You consider it better, all right? So that kind of thing, where we try to advantage international goods over national goods. Then we come to repo rate, right? Repo rate was hiked recently. हमने इसके बारे में बहुत बार बात कर ली है अब. This article is an explainer of the repo rate. What happened? Repo rate was increased by 40 basis points. The price of the rate was hiked. The reason was inflation, citing inflation as a rising alarmingly fast. Now, what is repo rate? The repo rate is a direct and indirect instrument by RBI for implementing monetary policy, matlab money supply. What does it do? It affects the liquidity adjustment facility, the supply of money in the economy, okay? Banks have short-term requirements of our funds. They are taken and borrowed by. So repo rate in short banks, so repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow money from central bank. Basis point simple concept है, जैसे कि अभी right now Unacademy is running a 20% off. अब मान लेते हैं हम इसको 20% की जगह 20.5% कर देते हैं, तो then that we have increased the discount rate by 0.5 basis points. Okay, so that's a very simplistic understanding. It's the percentage increase, all right? Okay, then we move on. So what all do we have to note about repo rate? It is the rate at which banks borrow money from central bank. अब this borrowing rate, जिस rate पे banks money borrow करते हैं, determines the cost of lending. किस cost पे आपको loan मिलेगा? When the cost of lending for the private bank increases, they pass on that to the consumers. So the cost of loans for consumers also become expensive. This is what the repo rate is all about. Okay, then why and how does it work? The repo rate is a direct loan pricing relationship, the function as monetary tool. What does it do? When the repo rate is decreased, banks may find incentive to sell securities, the increase in money supply available for general economy. जैसे जैसे ये बढ़ती है, increase leads to less cash leads to low liquidity. ओके आप बस इस चेन को याद रखिए. दैट्स ऑल फॉर योर सिंपलिस्टिक अंडरस्टैंड. उसके अलावा देन व्हाट आर द अदर फैक्टर्स दैट इन्फ्लुएंस रेपो रेट एफिकेसी. रेपो रेट की एफिशिएंसी और किस चीज़ों से अफेक्ट हो सकती है, दैट इज द अदर टाइम. देयर मे बी फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट, ट्रेड, अदर टाइप ऑफ business environment in the country that also affects the efficacy of the repo rate. हमारे लिए ये important नहीं है उतना. What is important is the earlier part. Okay, then we move on. The Chief of Defence Staff and top level military reforms. The position of Chief of Defence Staff was created by the government last year. ठीक है, a first 4-star general position बनाई गई थी for General Bipin Rawat. Okay, but sadly he passed away. Since then we have not been able to refill the position of Chief of Defence Staff. Now the government is saying कि वो review कर रहे हैं कि Chief of Defence Staff को continue रखना चाहिए या नहीं. So तब तक के लिए हमें क्या note करना है? What is the position of Chief of Defence Staff? CDS, rank of 4-star general with salary and prerequisites equivalent to service chief and the then army general. ठीक है? The Chief of Defence Staff is the principal military advisor to Defence Minister and the permanent chairman of Chief of Staff Committee. ठीक है? Along with this, another position was created, Department of Military Affairs. ठीक है? Department of Military Affairs क्या करती है? वो देखती है कि बाकी चीज़ों की परचेज, items of defense purchase. So CDS का काम क्या था? For creating synergy between the 3 armed forces. Okay, that is the key question that was brought in. अब now it is believed कि this position requires some clarity. बहुत ज़्यादा overlap हो रहा है. There is roles and requirement जो government fulfill नहीं कर पा रही है. There have been flaws in the system जिनको streamline करने की ज़रूरत है. अभी तक हमारे लिए what is the position, the things that I have highlighted, that's all you need to note down. Okay. Then a couple of your questions. Hello Ayush. Basis points I've answered. Percentage of lending. This is too difficult. What are you not understanding? As long as you are continuous with general knowledge, you will be able to score well. So do not worry about that. ठीक है? Then we move on. Can I please explain the process of Finlandization? All right, so I'll do it at the end. Wait karo thoda. Let's come back to the other aspects of newspaper. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization terror meet starts. So counter terror operations for RATS. Okay, what is RATS? Regional Anti-Terror Structure of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This is what the meeting will be all about. Okay, where is the meeting happening and what will be the aspect of it? Okay, so India will host the SCO summit in 2023. This year's summit was held by China. It happened online, but India को next year physical summit करना है. Whether China will come or not, what will happen out of this is what we have to note down. अब इसकी meeting began today. कल इसके बारे में there will be details that we will have. India will be taking over as the position of chairman of the RATS mechanism. Okay, what is RATS? Regional Anti-Terror Structure. That is all that you need to note down. Then we move on. This is India and France conducting a joint patrol of the Indian Ocean. That's all that we need to note. Then we move on. Political news, nothing of note for us. Then on the right hand side, so कल हमने note किया था our vice president was on a visit to UAE. Now our president has become the first Indian president to travel to Jamaica. Jamaica is a country. This is the first by Indian president to the Caribbean country of Jamaica. He will be meeting his counterpart Governor General Patrick Allen and Prime Minister Andrew Holmes. Okay, this is the first time India has gone, and it is happening on the 60th anniversary of their relationship. 60 years have happened between our diplomatic relationship, but we have not, our head of state had never gone earlier. Okay? Then we move on. International Museum Day. Okay, so that which is today. May 17 is celebrated as International Museum Day. Okay, that is the focus where this is all about. Then we move on international news. So more trouble in Sri Lanka. There is shortage of oil, petrol. Stocks have ran out in the country. Then on the right hand side, Lee Ki-kwang and Pakistan's Prime Minister spoke to each other. Their relationship is strong. You already know China and Pakistan are close allies. That's all that we need to note. Then updates on expansion of NATO, right? So हमने अभी शुरू में बात करी थी that NATO requires approval of all members for membership. Okay, will not back Finland and Sweden's NATO bid. Turkey's opposition to membership has been clear. Okay, so for becoming a member of NATO, you require unanimous vote from all 30 members. So अगर approval नहीं होगा by Turkey, these two countries will not be able to become members of NATO. That's all that this news is about. Then we come on the right hand side. France has a very similar structure to Russia in terms of their government. There is a president who has most of the powers. There is a prime minister who deals with domestic issues. So France will, President Emmanuel Macron has nominated a new prime minister that will be Elizabeth Bond, who was her labor minister until now. She will be taking over as the prime minister. This is the first time in 3 decades that a woman will be taking over. Okay. Right, then a couple of your questions. All right, you can reach out to me on my Telegram channel, that is Kushagra Goyal, the legal game _Unacat, for all your doubts there. Okay? Who was the last premier of France? The last women prime minister? It was Edith Cresson in 1992 under the president Francois Mitterrand. That's all that we need to note. Then we move on to other news from economics, nothing of note. China's economy cools sharply on lockdowns, nothing of note for us here. Then never seen such commentary by any Indian team. This is success of India in terms of Thomas Cup. हमने इसके बारे में कल भी बात करी थी. Nothing of note apart from this. Then sporting side, nothing of note again. So before we move on to what all to note down in today's newspaper, right? A couple of your doubts. What is Finlandization? Finlandization is Finland taking a position of neutrality, okay, where they allowed USSR to decide their international relations while remaining domestically independent, okay. Then we move on. So before we do the conclusion of what all to note down, a quick request for all of you, अगर आपको आज का newspaper analysis अच्छा लगा है तो please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, okay. Then the first thing, Prime Minister. All right. So first, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Nepal, where he inaugurated the India International Center for Buddhist Culture and Heritage in Lumbini. Then Finland and Sweden's joint bid to join NATO. Turkey's opposition. Then Weblin Effect, where we prefer the quality of a commodity based on its price. Higher the price, the better we think its quality. Then we talked about Repo Rate, which is the concept of regulation of money supply in the economy. Then we have India's taking chairmanship of Shanghai Cooperation Organization's regional anti-terror mechanism, all right, RATS, and India-Jamaica's 60th anniversary, where our president has become the first president to visit Jamaica. That has happened for the very first time. All right, so on that note, we conclude our today's newspaper analysis. Your dates of the ALET examinations registration is May 25. So if you have not registered, please do so at the earliest. And for every other query about Unacademy, you can call me at 7825860506. On that note, Unacademy's prices will go up by 20% from May 20th. So avail a 35% off. Right now, if you use the code KUSHGK, you will get a 20% off, plus you will save yourself from 20% price hike. So students of 2023 should take note. For your subscriptions, you should take the subscription now to avoid increase in prices, okay? On that note, our subscription prices will go up for both Plus and Iconic category, so make sure that you take it at the earliest. The code is KUSHGK. The link to subscription is in the description. Plus, when you subscribe to Unacademy now, especially the Iconic subscription, though, you will get access to e-notes from Unacademy. These e-notes are physical notes, which are 5 books, 14 books of 5 subjects, comprehensive preparation guide, and you will get physical copies of these notes if you take a 6-month or more subscription, okay? Otherwise, everybody else will get e-copies of these notes from May 20th onwards. In Iconic, you not only get e-notes in physical copies, but you get live mentorship plus live doubt solving plus priority in classes along with sectional mock tests and everything. So students of 2022 can enroll in NLU Esteem batch, where I will be taking class on GK revision, and students of 2023 can enroll in our Let's Crack CLAT batch, which begins on May 18. This is the 2023 batch. On that note, you also have a session for legal reasoning revision that are coming up for our 3 educators, Kriti ma'am, Keshav and Yash will be taking on respective days. So make sure आप अपनी date note कर लो, and you can visit us physically for your doubts in Jaipur. प्लस अगर आपको कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए बट सिर्फ मॉक टेस्ट की प्रिपरेशन करनी है, तो यू कैन टेक Unacademy's लाइट सब्सक्रिप्शन. लाइट allows you to access 25 mock tests. Plus, now that your examination is less than 30 days away, these mock tests also allow you to win cash prizes up to 1,500. Make sure that you do so and use the code KUSHGK for a 35% reduction as of now. So make sure आप इस ऑफर को exploit करो to get a discount. On that note, notes will be available on these 2 links, और आप मुझे reach out कर सकते हो मेरे Telegram channel पर. That is Kushagra Goyal, the legal game _Unacad. For any other doubts, you can ask me here. On that note, for updates from Unacademy, you can join our Unacademy CLAT Telegram channel, and the classes of Kriti ma'am will happen as a special class where you will be able to interact with her, answer her questions, and get a notification of when her class is happening. Plus, you will be able to access these classes multiple times. So on that note, अगर आपको ये analysis अच्छा लगा है तो please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, do subscribe. So कल फिर से मुलाकात होगी 12 बजे. तब तक के लिए अपना ध्यान रखो everyone. Take care and see you all tomorrow at 12 PM. Bye.